Hit the shower, grab your coffee, and get ready to attack the weekend with Charlie Uczen and Jack Pembroke as they catch you up on everything Wisconsin sports you may have missed this past week. All before you even finish your breakfast. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend, brought to you by the Apollo Cafe on Brady Street. 25 years of Greek tradition. Enjoy gyros, souvlaki, fresh salads, and the legendary Zeus burger. Dine in, take out, or get it delivered. Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor. Live from 12:50 a.m. and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios. Powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
Jack, I am thinking about some sizzling souvlaki right now, baby.
Man, dude, we were there last night. My whole family.
I get a little hungry every time I hear that read.
We got to go on a Friday night when they serve their fish sandwiches. They have red mashed potatoes, real mashed that day for you. And they have fish sandwiches too.
That sounds good. If you guys don't know what we're talking about Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor on historic Brady Street. And I am Charlie Uczen. That is Jack Pembroke over there. We are Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the 12:50 a.m. and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We have a great show for you guys today. If you have never tuned into Wisconsin Sports Weekend before, welcome in. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today, first of all. And second of all, we just run through the world of Wisconsin sports, things you might have missed from earlier in the week, things that people on this station were able to talk about, the Trevor Thomases, the John Coons, the Rami Macloffs, the Steve Sparky Pfeiffers. There's things they miss sometimes. So me and Jack are here to help you kind of even it out a little bit, make sure that you get all the news that you may have missed, be able to get all your opinions out there that you may not have been able to get out through the week. We got a couple great topics on here. Hit us up on the fan, Nicolay Law fan talk in text line 414-677-1250. Again, that's 414-677-1250, 1250, real easy on there. You can also hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We are live streaming on YouTube right now, so you can hit us up on there. You can comment in the comment section. Jack and I can see him on there and read him off and talk with you guys. Our third co-host, Q, is probably going to tune in sometime here, and he's going to talk with us.
We love his comments.
Exactly.
I was going to say we're the Joe Krabenhoffs of the station. We are the sports janitors.
Oh, all right.
You need us. We're like the sixth man.
I like that. Clean up. We're clean up. That's all that matters. We're clean up. So welcome into Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the 12:50 a.m. and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. Got a great show for you guys today at 9:20. We're going to dive into this Packers-Bengals game that's happening this Sunday. Packers coming off the bye week. What are your expectations for the team? What are your expectations for the special team specifically? At 9:40, we're going to dive into the Milwaukee Brewers. And if their season does end today, which I'm really hoping it doesn't, but if it does end today, what would you grade the season for the Milwaukee Brewers overall, the 2025 year that they had? 10 o'clock, we got the Brewers. Are they the most unhateable team in all of pro sports? We want to know your opinion on that. Cubs fans seem to not think so. They seem to not like the Brewers very much, so we want to know your opinion. And if you think they are, fibbing a little bit about what they're saying about the
Milwaukee Brewers. They don't put ketchup
Brewers
on hot dogs, man. I don't trust their votes. Right? I don't trust their votes.
At 10:20, we got the Warlocks Locks, one of my favorite new segments that we've been doing. We got the cauldron over here with all the tarot cards inside, and the Warlock over there is just itching to make some picks. So we got a great segment there for you. And as always, we close off the show with the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl, where we run through everything that even me and Jack may have missed from the world of sports. To start off the show, though, I wanted to head back to the Milwaukee Brewers and their loss to the Chicago Cubs in Game 4 of the NLDS out there at Wrigley. It was a 6-0 shutout by the Chicago Cubs, and they got off to a hot start early with an Ian Happ 3-run home run earlier in that game. Jack, just for Game 4, was that your expectation for that game? Did you feel like the Brewers, after a Game 3 loss to the Chicago Cubs team, seemed a little demoralized out there? Because to me, it looked like they were demoralized. It looked like they weren't playing with the same energy they were playing in Game 1 or Game 2.
I want to preface this with, we love Tommy Warts, but when I was at Natty Oaks and I kept hearing, all these flowers and rays of sunshine about the Brewers, I started to get a little worried. I was like, wow, we are going to get complacent in Chicago. So I kind of expected it to end up Game 5, which is, hey, this is what you want. This is why they pay us the big bucks. This is why ultimately you want to be in this situation this time of year in October. against the Cubs. This is us fighting against the bad guys from Star Wars. That we are on the right side of history, I hope, in baseball history. And look, if you can't win at home with these fans behind you, you didn't deserve to be this far in October.
We are asking you here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend, what are your expectations for Game 5 for the Milwaukee Brewers up against the Chicago Cubs in this last game of the NLDS? Hit us up on the Nicolay Law Fan Talking Text line, 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250, 1250. And also hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we are live streaming on YouTube, all at The Fan Milwaukee. So you can comment on any of those, and we will read your answers on here, on the show, live on air. You can hang out with us on Wisconsin Sports Weekend. When I look at expectations for this Milwaukee Brewers team going into Game 5, I think it's the same expectations I've had since All-Star break. Go out there and win baseball games. This seems kind of absurd that these past two games have gone the way that they've gone for this Milwaukee Brewers team, especially considering the way the first two games of this series went for the Milwaukee Brewers. You saw their offense explode. You saw their pitching be able to dominate after that first inning, which right now I don't think we're getting out of the first inning ever with Klieg out of this series.
Oh, my God, no.
Game 5 is obviously going to have some kind of leadoff home run from the Cubs or from the Brewers. They're going to score 3 runs in the first, and then one of those two teams is just not going to score anything for the rest of the game, because that's exactly how it's gone for the rest of the series. And it's a little, I guess, frustrating to sit here and look at this Milwaukee Brewers team and see what happened throughout the month of September, where they were kind of a 500 baseball team. Not kind of, they were a 500 baseball team. To see what happens throughout this first round of the playoffs for the Milwaukee Brewers team and see those really high highs, but then also see the really low lows of this offense. Jack, going into a Game 5, you mentioned the home field advantage. How much of an impact do you think home field advantage has just had on the series in general? So not only for the Brewers, but also for the Chicago Cubs in Chicago. And then with that home field advantage, how much of an impact do you think it'll have in Game 5 here? Will it have more of an impact than Games 1 and 2? Do you think the fans will show up more? Do you think more Chicago Cubs fans will show up because they are in this again? What are your expectations for just kind of the atmosphere in Game 5?
Well, first, to answer the Chicago Cubs fans question to you, I think the Brewers brass has made it intensely obvious that we're only giving the majority of tickets away to Milwaukee fans. So I think that's how you kind of nerf that. But yeah, it's been blatantly obvious. If you've been playing at your home stadium, you have a great advantage, especially in this series. I mean, this is why we won all those games. This is why you win 90 plus games, so you can have home field advantage. This is why you want the top seed. So look, the 2-2 does not matter anymore. Everyone's 0-0, and there's one game, and you either go home or you show up. And I'd like to believe we'll be able to get out of a first inning without letting someone jack one off like it's the 90s with Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire. But nevertheless, I don't think that's possible for the Brewers to function in this reality right now. All I can remember is sitting next to some of our staff watching Game 3 at Natty Oaks, and I can't watch baseball with some of those people. I was getting a stomach ulcer.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
I was getting a stomach ulcer. And I think I'm bad during Packer games. That's why I like to not be at a bar usually. I like to watch up at the lake with my dad, and so we can just yell in our own room. But look, I can't be honest, right? I can be honest on this show.
Yeah,
right? We can be honest.
That's what we're here for, Jack.
I know this is kind of like a smooth jazz morning show sometimes for sport. I'm nervous. I'm very nervous.
Were you nervous at all going into the series? Did you have just full confidence going into the series, and now this is like a brand new nervousness?
I thought we'd come out blazing in the first two games. I thought we'd look great at home, and then I thought, well, we'll probably lose Game 3 because everyone thinks we're gonna sweep them now. You had to think that the Cubs were at least gonna put up a fight at home for 2 games and make it hard on us. And look, we made it easy on them Game 4. You don't score, you can't win.
Makes it really easy. Yeah.
Really hard to win when you can't put points on the board.
Can't get negative points as far as
Yeah, it's not golf or disc golf. But I think, look, the fan in me has to believe we're able to pull it out at home. So that's what I'm sticking with, because right now that's all I got.
I get it. And I think that's what a lot of people are just relying on right now. I think that, and I've said this on Wisconsin Sports Daily a couple times the past few days, but since the All-Star break and probably a good month before the All-Star break, there was a point there where I just stopped questioning the Brewers. I was just like, you know what? Pat Murphy is making right decisions consistently. His lineups, he puts them out there, and I think they're weird. I think they're bad, and then they work. And it's just like, okay, that's how I have to deal with it. Or they'll go out and lose one game, and then they go and win the next two games. I'm confident they're going to go and win the next two games almost every single time.
This is their artistic process.
I guess.
It pains me because of all the sports teams that I love in this state. This team wrecks my head just watch, because maybe it's because it's a prolonged game, not like basketball or football,
right.
But God, they are heartbreak kids. We thought the Bucks last year screwed up your cardiac rhythm.
See, but they didn't. Going into that playoff run against Indiana Pacers, yes, the Bucks should have been the better team, but it just didn't feel like they had the energy on the court. It didn't feel like that they went into that series with the mindset that they were going to win that series, which made it so much more frustrating when they didn't. When they had guys get hurt, when Damian Lillard was trying his hardest and then still ended up getting hurt and out for the rest of this upcoming season, that was heartbreaking. But it was because you knew Damian Lillard was the only guy out there like putting any effort on the court. It felt like
to give you that Sunday Disney Channel
exactly.
Chance.
Or you'd get the Gary Trent Jr. You'd feel bad for him because again he's going out there and giving 100% on the court, and then he makes a couple mistakes in that final game, and it kills the Bucks. It throws them out of the playoffs. So when I look at this Milwaukee Brewers team, I didn't feel that way going into the playoffs. I didn't feel like I did with the Milwaukee Bucks, where it was like, oh, here we go again. All right, let's just get through these post games. Like they're going to be done in the first round. Like it'll be fine. No, with this Brewers team, I went into this playoff saying they're a World Series contender.
Where there's a will, there's a way. They just always found it.
Maybe not even just World Series contender. They were one of my World Series favorites. I think they were one of my top 3 teams to go to the World Series and win it. I was going to
say the same. Top 3, top 2.
They were that good, and they still are that good. But these last 2 games, it seems like a lot of people have just gotten this mindset that all of a sudden it's all going downhill, that this is exactly the same Brewers team that we've seen, and you just cannot keep doing that. I've had those thoughts.
That's a Mudville mentality.
Exactly.
I mean, we all flirt with it. We all flirt with that idea of, oh God, this VHS tape exists in my basement, and I've seen so many, like whether it's just dropping to the Dodgers and not even showing up really in that series. Milwaukee deserves to get by this first round and taste some real October glory. Look, you and I both you still work in the entertainment and the food industry. Bars are going to make a lot of their fall and end of year if the Brewers play well. And it's great for the city. You got great food. We've got great entertainment, music, comedy. So my hope is we get our act together and the bats. Look, my dad is a realist. I was talking to him at Apollo Cafe last night, and I said, so what do you think? He goes, you don't want to ask what I think. And I said, well, what do you think? And he said, well, we have warning track power and the Cubs have homer power. And he said, that scares me. And so we already know how my dad's leaning. I just hope that if home field advantage is this important, Charlie, they've got to win.
Right. You have to take advantage of the home field advantage. You have to use it to the best of your benefit. And I think that's something the Milwaukee Brewers have done all season. They've been able to take these clutch moments where they need to be better than what they are, and they've been able to step up. Right now, this Milwaukee Brewers team, I really have no belief that they're going to lose this game. And I know I was talking with Tommy Wirtz. I was talking with other people, and they're all like, the series is over. The Cubs are going to win. They have all the momentum right now. And I would agree that the Cubs do have all the momentum right now. But you saw how quickly the momentum's changed from being the Brewers' momentum to the Cubs' momentum. It can change right back in the matter of a game.
And all we need is the Brewers have shown this. All they need is a couple doubles. And you get that crowd behind you. We get a couple generated runs, 1 or 2 generated runs early. Our pitchers aren't going to make mistakes, hopefully. And that's kind of how I hope it plays out. That's the script I want.
Everybody on this team feeds off each other. And you brought up the pitchers feeding off the bats. And it's the same thing. The bats have to feed off the pitchers. We need to go into this game as the Milwaukee Brewers and say, you know what? We're not giving up a run in that first inning. Because I think that has been really the killer in the last 2 games.
If they do that, we win, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think especially if the Brewers go in and get a run first. If they score first, going to this game in the bottom of the first and drive somebody in. Christian Yelich leading off again, hits a leadoff home run, pulls a Michael Busch. That would be awesome. All the momentum, again, I think swings right back to the Milwaukee Brewers in that situation. And that's something that you need in a series like this. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke over there. We are asking you, what are your expectations for Game 5 of the NLDS later today? Should be a fun one. Tune in for the leadoff show. Tommy Wirtz will be here, but the fan will be hanging out at Kelly's Bleachers on Blue Mountain from 5 to 7 before Game 5. Plus, your chance to get Euchre Magic t-shirts. Stop by Kelly's this afternoon starting at 5, brought to you by Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Again, Tommy will be here back in studio, but we will be down there just as a station, handing out shirts, handing out merch. Should be a lot of fun.
What time are they doing that?
From 5 to 7.
Okay, good for Cal. He'll be having fun at Kelly's.
It should
Bleachers.
be a good time. Yeah, Cal's a great guy. You'll see him. He's got a big old smile on his face all the time. You'll know who to see. He'll be handing out the Euchre Magic t-shirts. So stay tuned for that. Should be a lot of fun. Tommy will be here back at the studio. They'll be out at Kelly's Bleachers. Again, a grand old time. Hit us up on the Nicolay Law Fan Talking text line, 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250, 1250. To answer the question, what are your expectations for the Brewers in Game 5 versus the Cubs today of the NLDS? Should be a lot of fun. Should be a pretty crazy game. We're going to dive more into the ramifications of this game later on with the Milwaukee Brewers. But next up, we want to dive into the Green Bay Packers, talk about the special teams and what we think has improved over the bye week and what will happen if it hasn't improved. Again, this is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. I'm Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke. We will be right back. We got cooler bumpers now,
Oh,
Jack.
I love these bumpers.
Nine to noon came on the station. They decided to get some rap bumpers, hip hop bumpers.
All my burned CDs that got broken by my mom in 5th and 7th grade. This is why I'm high. This is why I'm high.
He is Jack Pembroke. I'm Charlie Uczen. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. If you are just tuning in, you missed us talk about the Milwaukee Brewers going into Game 5 of the NLDS today and what your expectations are for the team. We did want to move on over to the NFL, though, as the Green Bay Packers, coming off their bye week, take on the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 6 this Sunday. Should be a good game for the Green Bay Packers, Jack. I think that's something that most people can agree on, right? Hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, right?
I feel like everyone wins the bye week, right? In the NFL, yeah, everyone reads the clippings. Everyone's saying, "Oh, this guy's healthy. This guy's coming back. Oh yeah, we're back on the winning track, Charlie."
Well, and apparently the Packers did kind of win on the bye week a little bit. Zach Tom is back healthy with this team, hopefully, until he leaves the game again, as usual, as we've seen multiple times this season. We have an Aaron Banks healthy back on that offensive line. Tucker Kraft should be 100% healthy after a couple weeks now of dealing with that knee kind of scare that we had.
They got to feed him, Charlie. That's how we dominate. The first 2 games dominated with the run, fed Tucker Kraft, and then you let the little speedy guys get their little clippings at the end, you know?
But for both those guys to dominate, I think the biggest key is that the offensive line is healthy for both those guys to dominate. I think with tight end plays, especially in the play action game that the Packers like to run, you need more time for the quarterback to develop that play, for the wide receiver to sell, for the tight ends to sell. For running game, Josh Jacobs has been not great this season, not as good as we've expected Josh Jacobs to be.
Efficient.
But I think that's more, again, a case of the offensive line not doing their job consistently. Their run blocking has been pretty atrocious through the first 4 games of the season. And then their pass blocking has been okay until it wasn't okay, until it just fell off the face of the earth.
First 2 games, he had so much time. He looked like he was untouchable. There was like a little alien, energy shield around him for about 5 yards. And look what we were able to do. He was able to pick people apart. Very efficient passer. A lot of really good quarterbacks in this league, if you give them time, will tear you up. Look at Mac Jones, what he's done. People are now talking about like, oh, should we just throw Brock Purdy aside? Which is another story.
Paid him a lot of money.
Yeah, $50 million.
Really
you're not doing
choice.
that. You're not doing that. So, but I digress. I love when we get to talk offensive line because I know you know what you're talking about.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, that's why you're my co-host. And you're the best at it. But I think you're perfectly on point there because everything is predicated from the run with this offense. It opens up your twin tight end sets. It opens up those big hitters when Christian Watson's back healthy down the field, when a Jaden Reed is healthy, maybe more Matthew Golden involved. We have a bevy of riches at wide receiver. We're not even hitting our ceiling right now at wide receiver, which is why I'm like, okay, good. We'll fix some things. To me, offensive line has to be healthy, and then defensive line has to be healthy. That's the 2 most important things on this team, and we've kind of shows why our last 2 games were so abysmal is because those guys have been beat up.
That's our guy Nick on the YouTube chat says, "What run blocking?"
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Nick.
Exactly.
I knew you were laughing at something.
That's what we've been seeing from this Green Bay Packers team throughout the course of the season. It's been Josh Jacobs trying to make things happen in the backfield, Emmanuel Wilson trying to make things happen in that backfield, and trying to open up the game with some of the passing that this team is known to be able to do. And I think you saw that in Week 4 against Dallas. That was one of those games where you saw the passing game just take that next step. You saw Matt LaFleur put the ball into Jordan Love's hands more, because the Cowboys just had this approach to stopping the run in those games. And Josh Jacobs, while he is a phenomenal player, still ended up having a pretty solid game against Dallas. that's still something that I think we need to expect from teams moving forward here. So the Packers need to continue to take that next step with the passing game too, in order to open up that run game a little bit more, in order to give that offensive line a little bit of a break and not have so much pressure, not where you have 8 guys filling the box because they know you're going to run the ball or because they know you're going to do play action and they know they can catch you off guard if they can make something happen or do something crazy with one of their stunts. So you need to be able to open up the pass game even more to get the run game to open up more. And it's all in order to help out that offensive line a little bit. So, yeah, there has been run blocking, but eventually I expect that to change with Matt LaFleur being the play caller that he is. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios. And we are asking you, moving on to the real unit of the team that we wanted to talk about, the real question mark that everybody has had on their minds, the special teams. Do you think the special teams will take a step forward after the bye week? And if not, if you think they are just going to keep being the same group that we've seen all season, how can they take that next step?
It's been a special teams week, man. We've had a kicker who the coach said his quad is basically, not ruptured, but dire straits for our kicker. And then our kicker comes out and says, no, he's got a different thesaurus for what my injury is. I'm fine. I'm playing. I'm not too stressed about it because there's an Irish guy, McNamee, in the wings right behind McManus. Man, we've got a lot of Irish names on our team, which I love. But you got to be able to get better. I don't know how Rich has a job, our special teams coach.
I'll make it easy for you. He's getting paid a lot of money and they can't afford to lose that money.
What VHS stuff does he have on someone in the Packers brass that he can blackmail this long to have a job?
You're not the first person to be saying that. That's it does seem weird that he is still employed by the Green Bay Packers. But there's 2 things that are going into this. And one is the contract, like I said, where he's making $1 million as a special teams coordinator. Yeah. That's a lot of money to cut when you've already guaranteed that much to a guy like that. And to say that you lost out after making him the highest paid special teams coordinator, saying that it didn't work out, makes you look a little foolish. So you kind of just want to ride it out until his contract's over to just get past it and move on, or at least to the offseason where it makes sense to let him go at this point.
But the highest we've ever been with him is 26 or 27.
Well, counter that, the highest the Packers have ever been in general has been 26, 27. Since 2000, they've been one of the worst special teams groups in the league. That's
why they paid Keyshawn. It's why
exactly. They've had issues not only in the kicking game, but in the return game, in punting. They've had issues in all of those throughout the course of the past 26 years. So this isn't something new with Rich Bisaccia. That's a whole nother point.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going to say is that he has such a good relationship with the players on this team. He is kind of that connection between the coaching staff and between the players, and that's part of the reason they paid him $1 million.
Probably a reason why we got Josh Jacobs and Nate Hobbs.
Exactly,
they came from the Raiders.
Both those guys have said that multiple times. Josh Jacobs talked about how a guy like Rich Bisaccia saved his life at one point, and Nate Hobbs talks about the relationship he had with him when he first came into this league, and he didn't really know the type of person he was going to be.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to hate on him as a person. I've only heard good things about him. But at some point, you're like, who is he holding hostage? Because we are abysmal on special teams.
What does he have? That's the other thing. And this is the reason I brought up the Packers having such struggles at that special team spot for the past 26 years. It's because of the way that they develop that group. Justice Moscata, great writer for Acme Packing Company. Go check him out there. He put out an awesome article detailing this, exactly what I'm talking about, where they spent so much time over the course of the past 26 years with this mentality that the Green Bay Packers have of putting players who are untested, those undrafted free agents, the 6th through 7th round picks into special teams and just making those guys the special teamers and just rotating that group every single year. And new guys are coming in and new guys are getting opportunities to get on the field. Point. And when you are constantly doing that, you are also constantly putting players on the field that are not the most talented. That you're asking them to make plays, you're asking them to do things that they physically may not be able to do. Special teams is its own position. Mason Crosby said this 2 weeks ago. He talked about how it's really just about heart and effort on special teams, but that's just not true at all. There's a lot of skill in breaking down an open field tackle. There's a lot of skill in hitting the right gaps and making sure you're taking the right path down the field in order to stop somebody busting out to the side. And when you have players who do not understand that out on the field, you are going to get burned. And I don't think that is a Rich Bisaccia problem because that's what he's been given. He's putting the guys out there that he is being given.
That's a good point.
That's a Brian Gutekunst problem. That's a Matt LaFleur problem where they haven't sat down and said, you know what? maybe it is valuable to have players that know what they're doing on special teams. If we look at the New England Patriots and their dynasty that won, they had like 4 or 5 guys that were just on that special teams. Matthew Slater is one of the greatest special teams players of all time, and he's a gunner on punt and kick return. Most people do not know what that is or who he is, but he's going to go down as one of the greatest special teams players because the Patriots trusted him to do that. They went out there and allowed that to happen. And the Packers just don't allow that. They go out there and constantly change, constantly put young players out there who don't know what they're doing, and it burns them. And then we sit here in the same spot every season going, well, what's wrong with special teams? What's wrong with special teams? That's the reason they're losing. But Matt LaFleur doesn't seem to be worried about it. Ryan Gutekunst doesn't seem to be that worried about it.
We need to.
No, nobody has been worried about this for 26 years. It's just constantly, you know what? Our offense and our defense will be good enough to pick up our special teams. But you're seeing it right now. They've lost a game because of their special teams, and they tied a game because of their special teams.
Which felt like a loss. So they've really lost. First 2 weeks, A+. Next 2 weeks, F. And that's not just special teams. You've got to be able to kick a field goal to win a game. Even look, I know every team is professional. Everyone gets paid the same way. You've got to be able, 99% of the game in Cleveland, they led the whole time. You've got to be able to end games. And that's not only on LaFleur, Goot, Rich Bisaccia, it's also on Jordan Love. Jordan Love's got to be able to not make a mistake throwing a pick. You've got to be able to end games in the NFL, even if it's ugly. You've got to be able to win ugly. And we haven't been able to do that. As the Packers read a lot of their press clippings after the first 2 weeks and then crowned themselves because by all means, 2 really tough offensive teams from last year.
I wouldn't say they crowned themselves, though. Everybody else crowned them.
That's okay. Well, the media crowned them and said there was nothing wrong.
I also don't think it's undeserved. I hate when people sit here and say, oh, there's like, look at the past 2 weeks. Like, see what this Packers team has done. They're not the same team we saw. That's not fair. The rest of the NFL looks like garbage, too. We're being completely honest. The Eagles just lost to the damn New York Giants.
Look, the Packers still have a 1 loss in their column, right? We're a very good team. I still think we're a top 3, top 4 NFC team. I'm not someone who freaks out week to week because the season is so long. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be injuries to other key players on other teams in our division. What I see as my issue is you can't let easy wins on the road escape you. You can't. Whether it's kicking a 30 or 40-yard field goal, you've got to just be able to close out on that. And that's with just a team as a whole is my fear. If we come out and we play this game like it's the Browns again, and the Browns are in this game, I mean, the Bengals are in this game like the Browns were, I'm very worried coming out of this bye week then, because there's more issues than just the special teams then, you know?
I get why that you would think that'd be a concern, but we need to remember the Browns have a top 5 defense in the NFL right now, maybe top 3. Like, they are that good. They've gone out and dominated games solely based on their defensive performance. The Dallas Cowboys have a top 5 offense in the NFL right now. Yes. You cannot forget that.
And
without CeeDee Lamb, they're still one of the best pass. Like, Dak Prescott's
so good.
He's playing at an MVP level right now.
Yeah,
like he is that good. Jake Ferguson looks like the new coming of Travis Kelce. Just out
Why
of nowhere.
couldn't Wisconsin do that with him?
Right, exactly. So these are the things that you look at these teams that the Packers are struggling against, and they aren't as big of a struggle as I think a lot of people are putting them out there to be. And I think that's something that if you are a Packers fan, you have to understand. Say, you know what, this bye week should bring by more positives than it does negatives. And right now I do feel more positive about this team.
Yes.
I wanted to head over to the YouTube chat where our guy Nick is over there helping us out today. He said, I would love to see coaching contracts have more incentive bonuses like players do. I wanted to touch on that comment. That he has a few more on there, but that one specifically I wanted to talk about. With coaches, I understand where you're coming from, and I understand that you want coaches to be held more accountable than I think they are right now. But at the same time, you have to understand basically what I was saying before about Rich Bisaccia. He's only as good as the talent that's on the field with him. And if you are only given that much talent and you are only given that type of group to work with that just isn't prepared for the NFL game, that just isn't ready to go out there and do that job from week 1, when every other part of your team is ready to do that job from week 1, it feels like the offense feels like they've had a game plan ready to go. It's the same group of players we've seen for the past 2 seasons. The defense with a Micah Parsons, I mean, you don't have any questions. You just throw Micah Parsons out there and let him run. It's that easy. And then special teams is just left to figure it out with the 15 minutes of practice they get each game. So I understand that, like a coach like Bisaccia, you want to have incentives. You want that special teams, him and Brandon McManus to kick 35 field goals this season for him to get some kind of extra bonus there. But you don't do that for really players unless they are a player that has proven themselves before and is now on a downslide. That's when you give them incentives. You don't just give every player incentives. It has to be a very specific situation to the point where you're doing that with a contract. Like a guy like DeAndre Hopkins in Baltimore, he has a lot of incentives in his contract because you know what he can do, but that's not always going to be a case in certain situations.
He's also very long in the tooth as a wide receiver.
You can't put that same kind of individual pressure on a coach when it relies on 11 guys on the field. It's kind of my point. And I think that when you are a coach, you should be held accountable, and you should be told that when you are doing a bad job, that you are doing a bad job. But at the same time, you have to look at the overall picture for some of these coaches, for especially the special teams coach, where they just don't have the same talent that the rest of the team does. Sometimes
the structure isn't there for him,
and you just have to work with it.
Yeah,
that's all you're told. You're just told to figure it out. And I think Rich Bisaccia, for what he's been given, for having to play with Anders Carlson, which was his decision to play with Anders Carlson, that was a bad decision by Rich Bisaccia. But to have to go through that, to now having a Brandon McManus, and now the Packers have basically said, okay, good luck. We gave you McManus. We don't care about special teams anymore. Figure it out. Yeah. I mean, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's not easy to deal with as a coach in the NFL. And yes, I'm frustrated with what's happening too, but it's not all on Bisaccia.
My dad and I were at a preseason game and we were watching Carlson kick, and my dad's like weirdly good at just calling stuff.
Right.
And he said, look, the kid's got a leg, can't hit the broadside of a barn. He's like, this guy can't kick. And lo and behold, we are dealing with that for a season and a half.
Not anymore. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke over there, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. Be like Nick, hit us up on YouTube at The Fan Milwaukee. Join the chat. We'd love to talk with you guys. We love talking with our guy, Nick. So get on there. Let us know your opinions about this Green Bay Packers special teams unit and your expectations for the group going into week 6 here against the Cincinnati Bengals. When we come back, we're going to discuss the Milwaukee Brewers, and if their season ended today, what would you grade their 2025? We'll dive into that next after this quick break. Again, it is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. We will be right back. Welcome back in. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke over there, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. It is a lot of fun to be here on a Saturday morning with you, Jack. I always love doing it.
You make Saturday mornings, bud.
Thank you.
I love doing this show. No matter what's going on in the week, no matter if the Brewers lose 2 games in a row in Chicago, I know that there's silver lining that Saturday we're back. We had a little break.
Mm-hmm. We got to be out on the road, and then they gave us a little break, kind of, because we were still here doing stuff. But we had a little break, like you said. Like I said, it is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios. Over there in the YouTube chat, our guy Nick is already getting ahead of us on this topic here. We are asking you, if the Brewers season ends today, what would you grade their 2025? You can hit us up on the Nicolay Law Fan Talk and Text line, 414-677-1250. Again, that's 414-677-1250, 1250, to get in on this topic, just like our guy Nick. He said on there, regardless of today's outcome, this Brewers season was incredible. They essentially took a bunch of players no one's heard of and had the best record in baseball. Yes, they lost 2 in a row in Chicago, but aside from a couple of guys, most of that team has 0 playoff baseball experience. He's got a great point. This is really one of the youngest teams in baseball. They really have one of the deepest farm systems in baseball. I heard yesterday, Brandon Snide on 9 to Noon said that this game may be the most important game in Milwaukee Brewers history. And I said that was insane, because if you look at the future that this team has, and
bright future.
He also put it out there. He goes, this is basically a make or break year for this team. It can either set them forward a bunch of years or set them back a bunch of years. And I was like, no, they were at rock bottom going into this season.
Someone check that dude's water bottle.
People thought they were going to be like 3rd or 4th in the NL Central. And they ended up, like Nick pointed out here, the best team in baseball with the best record in the National League and the best record in all of baseball.
Yeah.
They were a good baseball team that went out there and just balled out without having a true star player, without most of their team being over the age of like 27. It's insane.
My hot take off air talking when we were setting this up was, I think if you look at it as a whole, you can't look at a 160 odd game season and blame it on the result of one playoff. And I know we live in the moment as fans and even as people who work in sports journalism, you live and die with your last game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you blow it, yeah, it feels like an F for the season. But to me, look, week 1, where were we? We were just hoping that,
league,
we were just hoping that this
Yankees
team
had the torpedo bats. Yep. They were making us feel stupid out there.
We were looking forward to 2026 and spring training. We were not talking playoffs. We were not talking an October run. We are not talking some rookie named Miz coming in and just setting the league ablaze from the mound.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you look at all the little nuances that went through the season, it's a monotonous season. It's a long season. There's been ebbs and flows, but look at guys we brought aboard. We got a Vaughn out of nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
King Vaughn out of nowhere. And I remember the day you and I talked in the hall, we're like, hey, maybe Sparky might be right on this pick, that this isn't a no-nothing trade. Like, this guy might be able to work with us. We got the storyline of a team and a city that believes in a bunch of guys that are either up and coming or no-name guys that, like you said, were journeymen. And we were able to put together the best record. Oh my gosh.
Our guy John in the chat over there says, definitely need to work on disassociating more. I think he's talking with you, Jack. Us Bears fans are super good at this, and I can give you some pointers.
Yeah, John's very good.
He also said your hair is not as good as last week. I would argue your hair looks fine. What? Why are people getting on you on your hair?
John's a good Bears fan, and I think if I'm right, it's John who went to Madison with me. So
I think so. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, and we are asking you here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend, what would you grade the Milwaukee Brewers 2025 season? I think when looking at this Milwaukee Brewers team, and again, right now, I have full confidence that they're going to go and win against the Chicago Cubs here. today. Like, I really think
I'm
this
80% confident.
I think this team is again, World Series winner type of squad,
I
the
hope
way they've
so.
been playing.
I hope so.
And I think that to look at this season and to grade it any lower than like an A, if I'm being completely honest, is asinine. You have not watched the Milwaukee Brewers this season. You have not been energized with the same kind of, I guess, euchre magic that everybody keeps putting out there, like our
We got
t-shirts
the
that we're
t-shirts,
giving out.
baby.
The euchre magic that's out there that everybody has been feeling. I mean, it's real. And I get it. Yes, not winning a World Series would suck. I think this would be, if you went out and lost this game, yeah, it may not be the most important game in Brewers history, but if you go out there and lose this, you get back end swept by the Chicago Cubs after you win the first 2 games.
Yeah.
That might be one of the most disappointing losses in Brewers history. It might be one of the most disappointing games in Brewers history, but it's not going to be the most important if they win, because that next game is going to be the most important. And the next game after that, and then the World Series is going to be more important than that. I mean, there are things that you have to look forward to here that, yes, this is going to be frustrating if they don't get out of this, but their future says that there's going to be more opportunities like this. A Jesus Mate, a Luis Pena coming up. You brought Jacob Mizorowski by. Isaac Collins came out as a 27-year-old rookie and just balled out this season, so he could be a part of the future plans potentially. Bryce Terang continues to take another step every single year. So next season, at this rate, he should be like a 30-30 guy. That's what it feels like. So this is a player that you should have a lot of faith for. Jackson Chourio, despite being injured in the playoffs so far, when he has played in these games, he looks like the best postseason player in Brewers history sometimes, and he's played in 2 total postseasons.
To me, overall, it's got to be an A- or a B+. You can't. You're an evil person if you look at this whole summer and all you can say is F.
Right.
You're spoiled. You're spoiled. I mean, this is the smallest market team, and every year they entertain us, Charlie. They entertain us every year.
If the Milwaukee Brewers have gone out there and won 4 World Series all time, if they are the Green Bay Packers and they have a season like this, I think, yeah, you could say it's a little disappointing because you've gone and won World Series and stuff. But this is really the start of something new. And the start of something new could still end in a World Series. Let's not forget that. Like, they are still alive right now. They still have one more game. And even if it ends this year, you have 5 more years at least of this. Jacob Mizorowski is under control till he's 27. Bryce Terang's under control for a while.
Big window.
Jackson Chourio, you put under that giant contract. I mean, you have so much opportunity moving forward here, and it should be a lot of fun moving forward. So we can't have this mentality that this is the best game, that if they lose this game, like you said, they are an F. You can't have that because they have such a bright future, and this season proved that.
Last time I checked, Charlie, the grass is still green at AmFam Field.
Damn straight it is. Damn straight it is. We're still out there. They're still balling. They're still going to give it their all tonight. Again, even if it results in a loss today, that is not the worst possible case scenario for this Milwaukee Brewers team. And people need to start kind of understanding that, I think. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I am Charlie Uczen, that's Jack Pembroke over there, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor on historic Brady Street. When we come back, it'll be the second hour of Wisconsin Sports Weekend, and we wanted to talk about the Milwaukee Brewers once more, but not as negative. You know, we were talking about if their season ended today. Well, we're going to talk about how much you like the Milwaukee Brewers, how much you think other people like the Milwaukee Brewers. Yeah, they're a lot of fun, Jack.
I love Brewers.
So we wanted to ask you, are the Milwaukee Brewers the most unhateable team in all of pro sports? I think most people on here are going to believe that's the case, but you never know. There might be other teams that people like. So we want to hear all your opinions right here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend. Again, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen. That is Jack Pembroke over there. And we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street.
Hit the shower. Grab your coffee. And get ready to attack the weekend with Charlie Uczen and Jack Pembroke as they catch you up on everything Wisconsin sports you may have missed this past week. All before you even finish your breakfast. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend, brought to you by the Apollo Cafe on Brady Street. 25 years of Greek tradition. Enjoy gyros, souvlaki, fresh salads, and the legendary Zeus burger. Dine in, take out, or get it delivered. Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor. Live from 12:50 a.m. and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios. Powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
How we doing, folks? How we doing? I am Charlie Uczen. That is Jack Pembroke over there. And this is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, just like the big voice lady said. We are powered by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor on historic Brady Street. And we are live from the 12:50 a.m. and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We've had a great show so far for you guys. The first hour has gone by swimmingly. John and Nick over in the YouTube chat. You can be like them at the Fan Milwaukee on YouTube and comment at us. Give us some of your hot takes about the Milwaukee Brewers, the Green Bay Packers, whatever we're talking about. We'd love to hear your opinions, so you can hit us up there at the Fan Milwaukee on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We got all of those accounts active and live. Go comment on there as well. Or you can call the Nicolay Law Fan Talking Text Line, 414-677-1250. Again, that's 414-677-1250, in order to get on the show here with Jack and I. We talked about the Milwaukee Brewers a little bit going into Game 5 against the Chicago Cubs so far. This has been a roller coaster of a series for the Milwaukee Brewers. But I think the one thing that when you talk about the season in general, not even just the series, that most people can agree on, it's that the Milwaukee Brewers are a pretty lovable team, right, Jack?
I've always felt that way. I think that if you're against, like, look, if you watch baseball and you're against teams like Oakland, the Brewers, who don't spend that much money on their organization, paying their players. I mean, look, I think Aaron Judge's contract could pay out our whole team. Mm-hmm. So put that into perspective. The Yankees pay what we pay our whole team to one player.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. The fact that this team has been able to come out here with basically nobodies outside of a Christian Yelich and a Freddie Peralta, that was about it. Most people don't know much about this team. Even a Jackson Chourio, who is one of the youngest, brightest stars in baseball, still a very young and bright star in baseball, which means people just don't know his name yet.
You know what I love to do? I always love to go back to ESPN and see what the experts predicted.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think we had a 25% chance to make the playoffs, 13% chance to win the division, and I think to get the number one seed under 3 or 5%. So, look, no one expected this in the baseball world. Maybe some people like you and I thought, hey, they could put something together, have a good season, make the playoffs, make a run. I think that's what we talked very early on about at the show. But look, it's been a whirlwind of excitement. I think, like you said in the previous segment, we've got a window of 4 to 5 years of a very good baseball team. Not only the players we have now on contract, but guys in our farm league system that are only 17, 18, 19 years old that are going to, right now look like phenoms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, phenoms is a great word for it. That's what they are. Not just that they look like that, but Jesus Made has gone through like 3 different levels of minor league baseball. So this season, he'll go through a few more next season before he probably gets to the major leagues next year. And he's going to be younger than Jackson Chourio when he hits the major leagues.
His name is Jesus, people. Get the shirts ready.
Jesus Made.
Yeah.
Like, that's just like Jesus made. Like, that's what that is, man. It's crazy. Like, that's built.
They need to start printing Jesus Save shirts and just sell them now.
Imagine if he was like a closer.
I know, dude. It'd be so good. I know.
This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the 12:50 a.m. and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And we are asking you now. We talked about this young team and a lot of unknown names. The manager, people seem to just fall in love with Pat Murphy.
I love Pat Murphy.
The fan base just loves this team. They show out for them all the time. They're always there cheering no matter what's happening in that game. Feels like the front office puts a lot of love into the roster build, and they understand how this team is fitting together. Not just that these are star players or not, They actually look into the chemistry of the team. And we wanted to ask you, because of all those factors, because this Milwaukee Brewers team has just been such a bright story this season with the Euchre magic and the power of friendship, we wanted to ask you, are the Milwaukee Brewers the most unhateable team in all of pro sports? Now, this is coming off of a tweet that I saw earlier in the week from former Badgers basketball player Sam Decker, who is a huge Wisconsin sports fan. His wife works in sports news TV. They're awesome. They have a podcast together where they're really great. But Sam Decker put it out there quoting the Setup Man, a Chicago Cubs YouTube channel. The Setup Man posted, "Words cannot describe how much I despise the Milwaukee Brewers." And Sam Decker quote tweeted that and said, "Hating the Brewers is so fake and manufactured. Smallest market in pro sports, no championships, no bad people on their team, mostly young guys and journeymen, and a fan base that just wants to drink beer and cheer for their team. It's completely faux hate." Jack, would you say that Sam Decker is on the money with that description of how people view the Milwaukee Brewers and the description they put of faux hate?
How can you hate a state that welcomes the opposing team to tailgates, gives you beer brats, gives you this succulent thing called a cheese? Oh my God,
cheese curd?
Yes.
So
man, I'm just thinking about cheese curds right now. I had a brain cramp. I
mean,
how can you hate on a state that does all those things, is just big on sports? Like you always hear at Lambeau games, oh, Green Bay is a great place to visit. Milwaukee's a great place to visit. The fans are so nice. I didn't expect them to be nice. You can't hate on a small market team that all they do is produce. All we do is win. Not deep into the playoffs, but in general, you have winning seasons that the Baltimore Orioles fans or Angels fans, or, there's tons of fans out there that would love this consistency.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think when you compare them to a team like the Angels, who I think are sometimes a lot in the same boat as the Brewers, they've had those years where they are just consistently competitive, but just cannot take it to that next level, or even the Orioles to some degree. What makes them so different from the Brewers is that those teams do spend money. They go out there and get star players, and they get a Mike Trout and sign them to a lifetime contract. And they go and outbid every other team for a Shohei Ohtani to try to make something happen. And they bring in an Anthony Rendon, and that should be one of the best teams in baseball. And then they're just not, because nobody looked at the chemistry of that roster. Nobody looked at how those guys would all fit together. Nobody thought to think about what the ramifications could be if Shohei Ohtani gets hurt during the season, if he's going to be playing both. And they just were not prepared for that situation. And I think the ineptitude of a front office kind of leads to people disliking said team, just kind of in general. And right now, what we've seen from the Milwaukee Brewers is that no matter what, in my lifetime, they have always found a way to stay competitive. They have always found a way that it doesn't always mean spending money. It doesn't always mean making that huge trade, but it means that finding the right players that fit within this locker room and fit the culture of not only the team, but also the culture of the city is huge. And they've done an amazing job of that. And people continue to embrace these teams. I think when you look at it from a national standpoint, it kind of seems like Cubs fans may be more jealous of the way the Brewers fans get to think about their team and get to love their team no matter what happens, because they constantly are just in this state of, great, another season of disappointment from a Chicago sports team. Whereas Milwaukee Brewers and honestly Wisconsin sports are in kind of the same boat as Chicago sports fans. Their like level of success over the past 20 years has been pretty equivalent.
Yep.
And right now the Bears fans and Chicago fans are just apathetic, while Wisconsin fans and Packers fans are just happy all the time because they just love to watch winning football from an organization that cares about its fan base.
I was going to say, what we said to each other when we came in this morning, it is a lot like we could have a situation like the Guardians where everyone hates your owner. People are flying stuff over the stadium. The Brewers have always felt like a real life major league team, like the movie.
I'm watching Major League right now.
That's awesome. They are. I mean, it was filmed here. It was filmed in Milwaukee at Milwaukee County Stadium. It's kind of a ragtag group of other, outside of Churio and a couple other names. People weren't too hyped about the Brewers team, and how deep they could go in October. It's kind of Robin Hood and his merry men with Pat Murphy. I mean, look, we can talk about the pancakes and the cuteness of all that stuff, but this is a team that really emulates the city, the people, the blue collar mentality of, hey, doesn't matter who, we're going to show up and we're whoever shows up is going to get us a win.
I got to ask you, Jack, here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, the Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. I got to ask you, and I'm going to ask the listeners this as well, so you can hit us up on the Nicolay Law Fan Talk text line, 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250, or on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also YouTube. You can comment on there at The Fan Milwaukee. If the Brewers go to win a World Series this year, if they go and are having the most successful season in all of Brewers history, do you think that perception of the Milwaukee Brewers like immediately changes, or do you think people still keep going at them with this kind of underdog mentality that we love, that you guys are just gritty and are going out there and just playing baseball the right way and having fun, and that the whole world is going to love you? Or is it you go and win a World Series and the next year you lose in the NLDS and people are just hating on you and getting all over you because you weren't able to succeed again? And now all of a sudden you go from being one of the most loved to being a team that everybody considers a loser.
That's definitely possible in the media cycle. We live in a very fickle media cycle where you are today's flavor, this week's flavor, mainly this hour's flavor, right? Because, we just need everything force fed to us. Yeah. That it's really easy to kind of get complacent. Look, if they win, I think a lot of real Brewers fans, if they win a World Series, grandparents have been waiting to see one. Unless you were alive in the 70s and early 80s, you've been waiting for this. So I think people will overlook.
Even if you were alive, then you've been waiting for this because they didn't win it in 82.
Yeah,
they lost it in 82. You've been waiting for this since the Brewers came into existence.
But I think fans are realistic. If we win a World Series, they'll be fine with, hey, we lost in the playoffs the next year. Who cares? I think the storyline with Uecker is just perfect. Like, think of how many Disney movies are going to be made after this team if they win a World Series the year after Uecker died. I think the storyline's there. We're beating the Darth Vaders of our baseball netherworld, and you get to send your old coach back to Whitefish Bay, and he can watch you guys ride off into the sunset, as they say.
I think they should let him sit in the dugout with them. Be like, look at what you look at what you left behind, Craig. You can come watch it on the field, buddy. Yeah.
Make a call to the bullpen, Craig.
Do all the calls, champ. You can do all the bullpen calls, all you want.
All love, though. I think Craig Counsell's a really good guy, and I don't think he deserves all the booze. But you had, realistically, Charlie, a little off kilt. You had to be ready for that when you accepted this
you
job.
brought up the booze that Craig Counsell got when he came to Milwaukee in the first two games of the series here. And he's been getting booed since last season, since he's come to Milwaukee. It's been crazy. But in the first two games, the boos were loud, man. Like, they were.
Oh, I know they were.
They were.
But it's also playoff baseball.
Well, yes. But do you think that because the Brewers are viewed as one of the most unhateable teams in all of pro sports, that adds to the disdain people have for a guy like Craig Counsell, who kind of, I guess, spurned the Milwaukee Brewers in a sense, where he left just for the money because there was a bigger opportunity there for more freedom for him to do what he wants with the roster building? Do you think the fact that people do love the Milwaukee Brewers so much because they're such a not only a national or a locally loved team, but also a nationally loved team, that it adds to people's hate for Craig Counsell a little bit more versus, let's say, if he was a Cleveland Guardians manager that decided to go to the Minnesota Twins? Do you think people in Cleveland are getting on him the same way that people in Milwaukee do for going to Chicago?
No, look, there's many rivalries in sports. But I think if you are a sports fan, you know that there are some rivalries that just trump everything else. There's the Yankees and the Red Sox. There's Chapel Hill against Duke. There's the Packers and the Bears, and that's one of those rivalries. The Chicago Cubs and the Brewers, that's a heavy, heavy rivalry. And
is that more recent? Is that something
in the last 20 years, way more recent?
So, well, okay, then you bring up the fact that it's a heavy rivalry then, but if it doesn't have that same weight behind it as a Boston Red Sox versus New York Yankees or a Bears versus Packers, I guess, how did it grow so quickly? Like how did that animosity for this team or between these two teams grow so much? Because 20 years doesn't feel like a long time to build up that rivalry. And I would argue it's probably only been closer to 10 years that they've had a consistent
Fair
rivalry
enough.
like that.
I think in a lot of ways, proximity. People go back and forth. People either move to the Chicago burbs or they move from the Illinois area to southern Wisconsin, southeastern Wisconsin, right? So proximity, that usually helps, right?
So then is it a fan rivalry or is it a team rivalry then? Because
I think it's a fan rivalry more.
Do you think that, I guess, it is felt the same way a little bit in the locker room and the clubhouse as well then too?
I'll put it this way. I think the Cubs players hate the Brewers more than I don't think the Brewers are like up on a dart wall, like throwing darts at the Cubs players.
Why do you think the Cubs hate the Brewers more?
I think the boos really did hurt their coach. And I feel like I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think that Council called Pat Murphy and was like, hey, I don't like getting booed too much. And Pat Murphy had to talk about it where he's like, hey guys, I understand it's sports, but
I don't know if Craig Council said anything. Like Pat Murphy is his friend. They are very close friends. Like I would be pretty upset if me and you just went out and someone did a live show and people were just like, Jack sucks, Jack sucks, boo. I'd be upset about that.
I know, and same
even
vice
if you
versa.
worked across the street and you were over there doing a show instead, and we were at the same place they were doing it. Like,
no,
I don't. That would throw me off a little bit. So I understand where Pat Murphy's coming from in a situation like this. Nick puts over there. He could have went to any other team in baseball, and it wouldn't be the same reaction when he came back. I get that. I do understand that the Milwaukee Brewers, especially for a guy like Craig Counsell, who is the winningest manager in Milwaukee Brewers history, he is arguably the greatest manager in Brewers history. Probably not after this year when Pat Murphy wins a second straight manager of the year, which is just nuts. Only two other coaches in all of MLB history have done that. I mean, these are the situations where, yes, I understand that if he went to the Mets instead, it would have been a little bit different. But my question isn't really about that. It's whether or not, like, let's say this situation happened with two other rivals, would the animosity still be there for a lot of these fans? And again, if it was Minnesota and they're losing their manager to Cleveland, do they boo that manager the same way that the Milwaukee Brewers are? And if not, is that because the Milwaukee Brewers are just so unhateable that it feels like a act of just betrayal for Craig Counsell to do that no matter what?
That's kind of what Nick's getting to on the chat. I love that we have this little dugout, or I call them our sideline reporters, because it's just like old school 1980s. Like, hey, Wally, what is that weather down there? Oh, it's wet. Do we think the 2016 World Series win has anything to do with the hate? Almost a jealousy type of situation.
No, not really, because the Cubs are such a historic franchise who do have two World Series before that, even if they are back in when Sparky was 40 years old, all the way back in the early 1900s, like
when you're allowed to not bring goats to the Chicago Cubs stadium.
Exactly. Like the Cubs have had that history there too. And I don't think that in that 2016 season, or even before that, again, the Cubs and the Brewers really had that strong of a rivalry there. I think it would be different if it was the Red Sox watching the Yankees win their second three-peat in the past 10 years. And that's frustrating. That really gets to you. This is not the same situation to me. The Cubs didn't have the same success after that. They went 2017 and had a run to the NLCS and then just fell off the face of the earth after that.
The boos this year are because both we're so competitive with each other, and the division is so competitive.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's worked to get into somebody's head at some point in this game, to get into Craig Counsell's head. He's made a lot of weird decisions in this series that when he went to Chicago seemed to not make those same kind of decisions.
No, he had good home cooking.
Right, exactly. The fan base, you saw Freddie Peralta, the difference between his game 1 versus his game 4, when the Cubs fans they're chanting Freddie. I mean, that gets in your head, man, and that stresses you out. So I think it is definitely a more recent thing. So no, I don't think it's a jealousy type situation yet. If the Cubs go and win a World Series this year after beating the Brewers in the playoffs, after beating them that way by getting into the head of their team, I think then it's going to all start being a jealousy situation.
I was going to say the same exact thing. If it results, because the way I look at it is, and I think these two teams look at this is the pathway to a World Series. They know whoever wins this DS series is most likely probably favored to win out of the NL.
I don't know about that. You're going up against the Los Angeles Dodgers.
I like how we've played against them all season.
They're a different monster. In
I
the
know they
playoffs.
are. I
They're
know
a
they are.
different
But bring it
monster in
on,
the
baby.
playoffs.
You
All right, I
can't
like
shy
it.
away from greatness.
I like
Write
that.
that down. Don't
I
shy
like
away
it.
from greatness.
All right, Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
There,
write
that's
that down. Miss 100 shots you don't take there. Michael Scott.
Yeah. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke over there. When we come back, the Warlock is going to make his locks. He's running over here to grab his cauldron real fast. That's why he disappeared from the screen. And the Warlock will be on screen giving you the best fantasy advice this week, your best prize picks advice, the top 4 players you need to start in your fantasy leagues. He's got it for you on Warlock's Locks right here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We will be right back. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I am Charlie Uczen. That is Jack Pembroke over on the other side of the glass. We are live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. And now it is time for the Warlock's Locks. If you can hear that music, you know we have made it into the lair of the Warlock, where he will dive into his cauldron there and take out 4 tarot cards that will read the top 4 players you should play on your fantasy league or in your prize picks line or wherever you are playing some kind of fantasy football, some kind of betting on football. The Wisconsin Warlock has got you with his Warlock's Locks. If you did not understand all that mystical phrasing, Jack is going to pick 4 cards out of his cheese head over there. With those 4 cards that he picks, it will tell you your must-starts this week for fantasy, or again, any other betting apps that you have, whether or not it is a good play, maybe a bad play, maybe one of these tarot cards is evil, Jack.
Or a stash.
Maybe it's a stash.
Stash for later.
He's going to get you right on all fantasy through these 4 mystical picks here on Warlock's Locks. Jack, let's make the first pick out of the cauldron here. Who are you taking out of that cheesehead, my man?
Okay. Cortland Sutton, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. Over in England this week.
Should be an early game tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun in that early game tomorrow. Jack, what are your expectations for a Cortland Sutton, again, wide receiver of the Broncos, taking on the New York Jets in England tomorrow morning?
I'm thinking he's been pretty consistent. He seems Bo Nix and he have a good connection. I'm thinking maybe we're getting 14 fantasy points. 14 fantasy points, 14, 15.
14, 15. All right, I can live with that. How do you expect that 14, 15 to pop up?
Milwaukee's #1 furniture, mattress, and appliance retailer is bringing you the biggest sale of the year. Huge savings on furniture.
It's okay.
Back to the mystical music.
Yeah, we're back to the mystical music. I would say he's going to get a touchdown. He's probably going to give you around 70, 80 yards.
Okay. I like that prediction. Going up against New York Jets defense that can be shaky at points. That defensive front hasn't been able to get consistent pressure all year, but with guys like Quinn and Williams, guys on the edge that can all be threats for this New York Jets team, I think Bo Nix is going to see a little bit of a more, I wouldn't say advanced type of pressure, but just a different type of pressure from a guy like Aaron Glenn running that defense, which I think results in a lot more quick passes. And if there's a lot more quick passes for this team this week, I think that is something you can rely on a Cortland Sutton to be that number 1 target easily. So I don't know if I'm in that same like 70, 80 yard range. I would say for a Cortland Sutton, I'm more in like a 40 to 50 yard range, but 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that might happen. He's a great red zone look too. So, hey, you're the gentle giant alchemist on this end of the show. So maybe you just alchemized yourself into some fantasy.
Cortland Sutton is the first player on Warlock's Locks this week. Jack, who is the second player in the Warlock's Locks?
Chris
Olave. Playing with a quarterback situation that I don't think is ideal for almost anybody.
And there's trade rumors going on now.
There are trade rumors going on. They are taking on the New England Patriots this Sunday. One of the hottest teams in football right now took down the Buffalo Bills last weekend. Jack, what are your expectations for a Chris Olave against a star-studded New England defense?
I think he's starting to come into his own form, which is crazy to think. If he had a quarterback, he'd probably even be throwing up even better numbers. But I think if you're in a PPR league, Chris Olave is starting to come in to games where they're going to be in them, but they're probably going to be losing. So they are going to be passing them. He gets so many looks. He's averaging, I think, around 11 targets a game. Mm-hmm. So you just can't, if you've got him on your team, he's a must start.
Definitely. Looking at Spencer Rattler, also, by the way, people need to put some respect on his name, Jack. He has 990 yards passing this season, a 6-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, Has been sacked 9 times already.
I want to know how far his passes have been upfield, though.
His average pass attempt is about 5.6, which actually isn't that bad compared to some of these
No,
other
there's
quarterbacks.
guys that are like 1 or 2
The
yards.
top quarterbacks in the league are only throwing like 7 yards per
True.
pass on an attempt.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy. So I think he's having a pretty good season. I think this is something where Chris Olave is leading the league in targets right now, but is just nowhere near close in total receptions or yards or anything
Sure.
like that. I think this is a situation where Spencer Rattler gets more comfortable or Chris Olave gets more comfortable. Hopefully those targets turn into catches for this team. They beat the New York Giants last week, who had a huge upset this past Thursday against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think this is a situation where Chris Olave could take that next step. Maybe it's starting this week against a team that I think isn't exactly the toughest opponent. It's still a very young New England team, but like I said, they're hot. So you could turn down that hot a little bit and cool them off. I think this could be a good pick for your fantasy teams this week. Like Jack said, it's a must start on any of your lineups just because of the amount of targets he gets. But I think he may be sneaking more into that wide receiver 2 versus wide receiver 3 territory coming up here pretty soon. Jack, third on Warlock's Locks.
Okay, let's shake this up. Jalen Waddle.
Ooh,
we like him.
In the absence of a Tyreek Hill who went out last week with a season-ending broken leg, which was one of the most brutal injuries I've seen in a really long time in football. Jalen Waddle is going to step up to be that wide receiver number 1 in a matchup where they're facing the Los Angeles Chargers, a team who's been one of the biggest surprises in football this year, but has stumbled the last couple of weeks and now will be down to their third-string running back on offense. Do you think that if we take a look at Miami's defense, who's been one of the worst in the league,
it's going to be a high-scoring game?
What does that mean for Jalen Waddle?
That means lots of opportunities, lots of red zone looks. I know Darren Waller is questionable, so if he's banged up, I kind of lean towards Waddle getting a little bit more of the focus of the red zone targets. I'm thinking he's giving you at least 16 or 17 if you're in a PPR league.
With Tyreek Hill out, and now you're saying Darren Waller is kind of questionable in a game like this, a guy like Devon Achane in the backfield, do you think he gets more receiving opportunities? And what do you think that does to a Jalen Waddle's game in a situation?
It's very good for your team in our league because Devon Achane just looks like he's going to catch all those little short yardage throws like we talked about just recently with Spencer Rattler. So I would wager to guess Tua Tagovailoa is probably throwing right around 5 to 6 yards per attempt. So that means your running back's going to get a lot of those under out targets. So if it's a big passing game and there's both defenses playing like crud, I think you have a pass catcher on either of those teams. That's a good start.
If you had to give a projection for Jalen Waddle, what are you feeling?
I'm going to go 18 points.
18 points? All right, that's a pretty damn
for
good
PPR.
Lead. We'll take that.
For PPR.
That's
so
a pretty solid.
Half PPR, he's looking 14, 15.
Say about 18, 6 receptions for 120 yards, no touchdowns.
Okay, fair enough.
I think we're going to put it right at that 18 mark. And Jack, last up here on Warlock's Locks here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. Our final player on Warlock's Locks this week, Jack.
Okay. Ooh. Dalton Kincaid.
All right. If we take a look over at the Buffalo Bills and Dalton Kincaid and who they are facing off against this week, again, they are looking to bounce back from a tough loss to the Patriots, like I mentioned earlier, against the Atlanta Falcons on Monday Night Football. Jack, Dalton Kincaid is a guy that I think sometimes splits duties with a guy like Dawson Knox on that Buffalo Bills offense. What are your expectations for him in this game?
Okay, I actually dropped him in a couple of my leagues, but before you get on me, I have Darren Waller and Jake Ferguson in those leagues. So, come on. But anyways, he has been a red zone machine. He's been a tank. If he's not getting like you said, he's splitting targets with Dawson Knox.
It's been much less split this season so far. Yeah. So we look at Dalton Kincaid. He's leading the team right now with receiving yards with 287 and 3 touchdowns. But to your point, his longest play of the season is only 28 yards.
Yeah, they look for him in the red zone when they're not able to run with the quarterback or James Cook. And kind of like you said with Devon Achane, James Cook gets a lot of those under routes in the flat and little crossing routes. So Sometimes as they matriculate the ball down the field, he has to share with those other guys. But I wanted to say I thought some of those were just blips on the screen for Dalton Kincaid. But I kind of see him as, you live and die by the sword in the red zone with him. He is a red zone machine. I think it's a good matchup. If he's your best go, start him this week because as a tight end, I think he's giving you easily over 12 points.
There you have it. We got 4 starts this week. You got Cortland Sutton, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, and Dalton Kincaid. Again, that's Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, and Dalton Kincaid. Should be a fun week of fantasy football, and the Warlocks locks are always right. So just lock it in. Lock it in. Go on Prize Picks. Put together a lineup with those 4 guys. Go in your fantasy.
You know what? We might do that. We might do that this week.
There you go. Go into your fantasy leagues. Try to make a trade for one of these guys. Trade for Chris Olave before he gets traded in real life, because that might be a steal.
He's either going to Buffalo or the Steelers right now, according to people. So
I don't know what the Steelers.
If he went to Buffalo
for him,
I don't know. Futures.
I don't really know what Buffalo has to trade for him.
Something.
Well, both those teams. I guess the Steelers, I'd be willing to take a pick from them if they were willing to give me like a 2nd or 3rd round pick. But if I'm Buffalo, I mean, that team feasibly should be one of the best teams in football for another 5 years still, as long as Josh Allen's that quarterback. I mean, that's not a team that I think has the pieces to make that trade, but also you never know. I've seen crazier. You know what would be a fun team for him to go to, especially if the quarterback can get healthy? You mentioned him before, Baltimore. I think Chris Olave with Lamar Jackson would be a nasty duo.
He'd get a lot of those targets. You wouldn't really worry about Mark Andrews or Zay Flowers eating into his targets. Yeah.
All right. And last question here for you, Mr. Warlock. With the Green Bay Packers going up against the Cincinnati Bengals, what's one name you are watching on the fantasy sheets for the Green Bay Packers?
I think Josh Jacobs has a very, very healthy bounce back week. He's projected in some leagues half PPR 19 points.
Ooh,
so right. I think, okay, let's throw something together here for the people. I think he gets 2 rushing touchdowns in this game.
All right. I'm going to say the guy I'm watching in a game like this, I think it's a Tucker Kraft. And I know we've been saying that a lot with him.
No, I like that. I like that too.
I feel like this is a game where, again, he should be coming back fully healthy now after a couple weeks of playing semi-injured and then a bye week. Jordan Love seemed to get a lot more confidence in that last game against the Dallas Cowboys, which is something that I think should continue to prevail for him and for this passing offense. And Tucker Kraft should be a huge part of that. I'm really excited to see what he can do on this field against a defense in the Cincinnati Bengals that is one of the worst in all of football. So we'll see what happens. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM. The Fan Studios powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke over there. When we come back, it'll be time to crawl. So get ready for that. We're going to go through the sports world, let you know everything you may have missed from this past week in sports. Like I said, it is Wisconsin Sports Daily live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM. The Fan Studios powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We'll be right back.
Did we miss anything during the show? Maybe we didn't. It's time for the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl with Charlie Uczen and Tommy Wirtz.
Oh, you know what that music means. It is time for the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl. I'm Charlie Uczen. That's Jack Pembroke on the other side of the glass there. And we are live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And we are also presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. If you guys are brand new to Wisconsin Sports Weekend, or you're brand new to the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl, welcome in. Thanks for joining us. We love having you guys here. The Pub Crawl is where Jack and I go through the sports world, everything that happened across the country, maybe outside of the country, that you may want to know. Maybe a fun fact, maybe an important fact. Sometimes it's science.
You sprinkle in a little sizzling science.
We get in there, a little sizzling science, a little sizzling souvlaki science right there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we go back and forth. We'll try to get through as much as we can before we get cut off here. But it should be a lot of fun. First up, I wanted to head over to the Milwaukee Bucks, where there was a lot of reporting coming out over there this past week with Giannis Antetokounmpo and his intentions to stay with Milwaukee or move on eventually. Reports came out from Shams Charania, of course, the only person who ever loves
Not a
reporting
fan.
about Giannis, constantly giving out all like the juicy details, apparently, that may or may not be true, but we'll never know because Giannis never confirms nor denies all of these rumors. He put it out there that the Milwaukee Bucks and New York Knicks had talks this summer potentially about trading Giannis, but nothing really stuck. They weren't able to get anything put down. I'm sure the Bucks are asking for an astronomical price for a guy like Giannis,
like 5 first rounders.
So they had those discussions that came out by Shams, which put a bunch of people into a frenzy, where then Giannis responded earlier this week on like Thursday, I believe it was, where he went out there and told people that he is in Milwaukee for this season and that, yes, he does go and people come and talk to him about trying to move on from the Milwaukee Bucks and that he does listen to them, but it doesn't mean he's going to leave.
Stop hitting on him.
His goal is just to want to win an NBA championship, and he thinks if the best opportunity is in Milwaukee, he'll stay in Milwaukee, but if the opportunity is not there, he may not stay. I think these are kind of big things from a couple standpoints. First, obviously, Giannis does this. I don't know why people want him to just be the most loyal person on the face of the earth. It's a job. It is not a wife.
He's won a title.
And he compared it to his
wedding
that
was a bad metaphor.
It was a bad comparison because people do treasure that type of relationship. And if you're comparing that to the Bucks, then you should treasure it the same way that you treasure your marriage, which I don't think is fair to Giannis.
Don't compare playing for an NBA team.
Right.
I think Giannis's wife would be in agreement with you.
Your job shouldn't be on the same level as your family.
Yeah.
And I think, well, at least in my opinion, some people don't think that, and that's fine. Think what you want to think. If that's more important to you, go for it. But for Giannis, I know that's not the case. I know his family comes first before the game, and that's not the way he put it out there, which I think threw a lot of people off when he said that. Jack, what's up first on your side of the pub crawl here?
Brazil has successfully created a stem cell operation where they were able to reconnect a human spinal cord with stem cell and grown tissue in a lab.
That's really cool. There's
Yeah.
a lot of NFL players, a lot of former athletes that could
Car
be really
accident
beneficial to.
victims.
I mean, this is huge news for that side of things. My girlfriend just got into a neuroscience field, so this
good
is
for
something
her.
that she's kind of learning about. I'll have to bring this up with her, see if she knows anything about it.
Okay.
All right, next up on the pub crawl, we're going to head over to Arizona, where the Cardinals head coach Jonathan Gannon was fined $100,000 by the organization, not by the NFL, not by the NFC, by the Arizona Cardinals for hitting Amari DiMercado after DiMercado fumbled the ball on the goal line after a 73-yard touchdown run, or would-be touchdown run, until he fumbled the ball before he got over there just by dropping it before he got into the end zone. Later on the sidelines, Gannon was seen slapping DiMercado's chest while an offensive lineman had his arm around DiMercado, and Gannon was just kind of hitting him forcefully.
I saw it.
It was pretty hard. And then it was announced that Gannon would be fined $100,000 by the team. He came out, made a statement about it, said he never wants it to be seen like that. That was not his intention.
He doesn't want it to be seen.
Like, that was not what his goal was, and he thinks he made a mistake. Jack, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that a coach should be able to have that type of kind of like intimate moment with a player where he is kind of hitting him a little harder as long as the player's okay with it?
I don't think, as a man and an athlete, I don't think it's right to do it that publicly. I mean, look,
That's
I
fair.
played in a time where that was to get chewed out and physically shook by or shaken by a coach was probably not too random in high school or college level sports. It cost him a win, and I can understand someone being that frustrated where you want to hit someone, but you don't. It's like Herm Edwards says, don't press send, you know? And it's an expensive $100K fine. It's a bad look. It makes this organization look even cruddier than they are.
Jack, what do you got up next on the flip roll there, man?
An American for the first time is the top class player in the Italian Serie A, and his name is Christian Pulisic.
Oh,
And
I know Christian Pulisic.
he plays for AC Milan. And it's, look, if you're trying to get into football, European football, Serie A is one of the most beautiful leagues to watch. It is some of the best finesse, passing. The league is corrupt like many of the leagues in soccer, but it probably has the most parity. Where
this may be a stupid question, Jack.
No stupid questions.
But if, like, in the Premier League, something like that, has an American ever been the top player in the Premier League?
No,
before?
but we've had a couple good goal scorers for like Everton and Fulham. Dempsey was one of like a top 10 goal scorer in the Premier League, which is huge. Like that's it's like saying some guy from Suriname is a leading point guard in the NBA.
Okay.
But this is kind of one of the big major leagues where an American has made this type of impact and is not at the end of their career.
All right.
And he's really dominating at a world-class level right now in Serie A. He's doing everything for AC Milan.
Well, good for him. Good for
So
Pulisic.
tune in.
Yeah, well, I'll be watching. I usually watch the national team during the Olympics and stuff like that, the World Cup. So I'll be paying attention, watching him. I was watching him the last time around when they were playing that. So that's really cool. Good for him. If we head over to the NFL, American football, not European football.
The real football.
Not really, because the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday Night Football just decided to go out there and run four straight tush pushes back to back to back. And
so ugly.
For the longest time this offseason. So a lot of people got on Mark Murphy and the Green Bay Packers for trying to get the tush push banned this offseason. A lot of people were changing their tunes.
2 thumbs up, baby. I'm glad they did because it is so ugly.
It's
done.
It is getting banned this offseason after
cooked,
watching that.
As the children say.
And the biggest problem is when the Eagles are doing stuff like that, they run 4 straight, get the touchdown, and they still lose the game. Like, what is the point of that? You just wasted, like, you're not playing football.
Aesthetically unserious football.
Well, and I was always under the impression that it was just like, just stop it. Just as a defense, just stop it. Find a defensive way to counter that play. But watching it on Thursday Night Football, I noticed that the New York Giants did try 4 different styles of defense in order to stop it, and they just physically could not. And that is a good New York Giants defense. They have a really solid front 7, and they just could not get anybody to get in the middle and knock a Jalen Hurts back. And if that's the case, if you have that many people on the line where it's just almost impossible for anybody to do anything about it, you as a league have to make a change on that. And again, especially when it's not even helping the Eagles anymore. They're just doing it, and it's just wasting time for everybody on the field. And yeah, you got a touchdown, but then you lost the game because you wasted an entire quarter doing tush pushes. Doesn't make any sense. Jack, what do you got up next on the pub crawl here?
So I'm going to go with you knew about him in the back of the show, Rube Waddell. He's a pitcher. He was born on Friday the 13th. He died on April Fool's Day. And in between, he set strikeout records, wrestled alligators, punched a lion, and once missed a game because he was too busy drunk in a parade leading it. We'll end with this. He was so dominant in college that a rival town once kidnapped him at gunpoint to stop him from pitching. Instead, he pitched for them for $1. This is back when $1 was worth
$1 good money, man.
Good back then.
Good for Rube.
NIL, first NIL.
Way to make that money, Rube. All right, that's pretty cool. I love a good story about Rube. I have heard of him before. We got about 50 seconds here before we got to get out of here. I do want to hit one more here. Rest in peace to Sister Jean of Loyola University in Chicago. She passed away at the age of 106 yesterday. She was a staple of March Madness for the past decade. It was really cool to have her around. People just fell in love with her and her support of that team. And the Ramblers took it to a Final Four with that first year that she was really there supporting them. So again, rest in peace to Sister Jean. My condolences go out to her family. Again, really just a bright spot in the sports world when you needed it. And again, continue to see super fans like that. That will do it for the pub crawl, and we'll do it for Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I'm Charlie Uczen. That is Jack Pembroke. We are live from 12:50 a.m. at 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we are served up by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor.